Mr. Pallone?
Here.
Mr. Sirianni?
Here.
Dr. Selly? Mrs. Bastelli?
Here.
I hereby certify that this meeting has been published in the newspaper in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and posted as required by law.
Okay, thank you. First item on our agenda tonight is a discussion about Bath Avenue and Coral Place. Director Roca?
Hello. Don't worry. I guess we had a request to extend the yellow line on Bath Avenue from a resident on Coral Place. Extended an additional 10 or 15 feet. He says he can't see when he comes out of the development on Coral Place. We went down and checked. We feel he can see if he stops at the stop sign. That's been told to him a few times. He keeps bringing it back up, so I told him this is his next step to see if he wanted to amend the ordinance to let us add to the yellow line. The only problem with that is if you do it for one person, you're going to be doing it for 600 people around the city. But that's up to you guys. We don't care one way or another. You know, we can make the line longer if you want to amend the ordinance. If you don't, we think it's safe the way it is. So that's where we're at with this.
What's the status of parking in that area? Are we going to get complaints if we do it that, oh, you're taking away parking?
You might. You have a lot of people live in the apartment buildings right across the street. I think they park on Bath Avenue there. I think the complaint is that there's a truck that parks there once in a while and he can't see past the truck. Again, we think it's that you can. I went there. The traffic guys went there. We all went there about 3 or 4 times. You have to stop at the sign. People go further, and then by the way the lane comes down, you might not be able to see. But if you pull up a little bit more, then you can see again. So.
And how much is yellow lined on either side of the driveway right now?
We painted that yellow line for him when he came and talked to us about 6 months ago or 8 months ago.
How far is that?
The normal 25 feet, from an intersection. We did that for him, which we thought was going to solve the problem because people probably were parking, up too close to the sign. You know what happens if there's no line there? People don't listen to the.
So it's 25 feet on either
25
side?
feet, yeah, 25 feet out now. That's what it says.
Just on one side or both sides? I'm sorry.
It's on both sides, but he's not complaining about
It's on
that.
all 4 sides.
Yeah, I don't think it's a four-way
I
stop.
don't know that it's 25 though, Jay.
It's 15, whatever it is from a intersection or whatever we
I
painted.
mean, I'd like to just throw out, because, I've been down there several times. I don't think he's just speaking for himself. That entire street is that whole condo unit. So he speaks
For them?
what I'm told on behalf of the association. My own experience, judging from and several times what you said, Jay, is you're right. When you get to the stop sign, if you literally stop at the stop sign,
You can see.
You can see. It's still not great, but you can see. The problem is with the curvature of the road there, as you know, you can't just make a left at the stop sign. You have to pull out further.
Correct.
And then that's the problem, not only with a box truck, but with any vehicle. Because I went down there a couple times in the last few days, and they literally park to the edge of the yellow line.
Right.
So once you move beyond the stop sign, then you've lost your sight until you move even
Further out, correct.
and then you're in the street, and then
I've seen the same thing. You're
that's
right.
That's where the problem is.
Right,
So
I've seen
I
the
think
same
what
thing.
he was what I believe they feel is that an additional 10 or 15 feet to address Kate's question. I think what is the average vehicle is
One spot we're talking about.
one spot.
One spot.
So
It's about 10 foot for a spot. It's about 10 to 12 feet for a spot. So you're talking one more spot.
I don't know. Anytime I've gone down there, I clearly see what he's talking about. And again, if you said 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 spots,
Could be a different story.
I don't know, my feeling was that if you got rid of one car there, it would improve the sight.
And
that's my opinion. I just wanted to.
And like I told him and I told you, we don't care either way. I mean, we'll go paint the thing another 10, 15 feet if that's what you want to do, but we can't enforce it without adding that to the ordinance.
No,
I
understand.
Yeah,
would
so.
agree with that.
What's that?
I would agree with that.
Okay, so I mean, whatever,
Would you agree?
again, whatever you guys want to do, if you want to do it, we can bring an ordinance to you next time, and you guys can pass it, and then we can go paint the yellow line.
I just hope we're not opening a can of worms like Jason said.
That's the only thing that I'm afraid of. I mean,
How many
I'm all for
people
helping
you
this
never
guy.
call say, well, I can't see out of my driveway, can you paint yellow?
I'm all for helping the guy out. I mean, if
I
they can't see, they
understand
can't see. I want to help them. I just don't want this to turn into, I can't see here, I can't see there, and then I could be up here every time asking you guys to do this, and I don't want to waste your time. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but we can bring that up if that's what everybody wants to do. We can do the amended ordinance next time.
What is the rationale to do it in light of the, so I can put it in the ordinance, in light of the statement that's been given by the public safety director that if certain conditions are met, you go to the stop sign, you can see?
Because you cannot make the left at the stop sign.
Okay.
Am I right, Jay? In other words, you can't literally turn right there.
No, you can't. You do have to
proceed
pull up, correct.
and look again.
Yeah.
So
in order to
You
make-
could make the right, because you kind
Oh,
of
the right's not
can, the right's not a problem.
I think
It's
that's
kind
why it's
of,
just on the southwest corner, because
Correct.
it's that left.
So in your request to me to draft the ordinance, please put that language in so that you have a solid basis so that that becomes different than anybody else trying to come and say, well, help me. Because it's site and fact specific, and you hit the nail on the head.
Okay,
And
let's
that's-
move, thank you, Jim.
and that's how we solve that. Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we're going to move quickly through most of this, is a discussion about the redevelopment ordinance and amendments. Rob Beckelman can't be here tonight, so I'm going to ask Ralph Basil to come up and Carl Turner, please.
Okay, what Rob was going to bring up and what's on the ordinance for the amendments is not something dealing with the zoning part of the redevelopment ordinances. That is basically dealing with the procedural method of both what is the cost of the redevelopment books and the procedure to go forward for the redeveloper. So I think everybody's already received that. It's gone before the planning board. The planning board has approved it unanimously to be presented to you the way it was presented originally to you. They had no additional recommendations.
And I can only add that, the ordinance now includes adoption of the guideline book 8 as recommended by the planning board, re-examination report, and we had some minor updates and copy fees for getting the guidelines. We added a link to the website. We did revise the exemption section as we've had in many prior discussions with you. So it's all there. It's been recommended for adoption by the planning board. So if there's any other questions, we can address them now.
Do you have any more questions?
So, Ralph, I've just given a little more thought, and I'm thinking about what Michael had brought up several times, and I don't know that we got a real answer in terms of if everybody at that meeting when Michael presented this thought that priority factoring these factors and putting some sort of weighting system on them. Why was that not?
Well, what was done instead, which we thought was even stronger, was, of course, to emphasize that and added more of this flavor throughout the ordinance. It's the decision to grant or deny is still within the sole and absolute discretion of the city. Okay, so it's still up to you guys. We did move one factor from the secondary up to the primary, which was the high-quality exterior design and architecture. Thought that was important. So now we have a balance of 8 primary and 8 additional. The tweaking done in the language says the council will, the city will emphasize the primary factors, those 8, and the others may or may not be deemed as relevant in your own discretion. So what we wanted to continue to do is not numerically box you in, but rather give you a pool of primary ones and leave the decision to grant or deny it in your sole discretion. And then really kind of de-emphasize the other 8 in the wording that was tweaked in section 345-93.
So here's my question further then, and it goes, a lot of this material that I'm just going to take a few cents from, and they're actually a combination from the ordinances being introduced and suggestions that was made by the Office of the State Controller on municipal tax abatements. And so, just very briefly, so the whole concept here is that we all agree that abatements are a departure from typical equitable tax principles, correct? And that is that every person, male or female, pays their fair share of taxes.
Correct. There's a high bar set before you'll consider it.
So if those factors are considered in the ordinance without any specific factor priority or weighting system, how can the public, or another developer for that matter, be able to compare or calculate why an abatement is given or not?
It's not totally accurate to say that you have not identified the ones that are primary versus secondary, because you have.
But let me be clear that I think what you've done here is very important. I think we all do, to set some sort of list of factors. My only question is the hesitation of not putting any sort of priority to them. And again, if the idea of identifying these factors is to show the community benefit in order to give or someone to receive a tax abatement, but if these factors don't have a specific factor priority and instead are determined on the city's sole and absolute discretion, as you point out, couldn't that be perceived as not being transparent? Because again, no one really is able to compare, calculate, or be aware of why exactly the abatement was granted. And so I guess my whole point is, I think it's great that you're making the list, but on the other hand, if those caveats are in there, then why have the list at all? Because isn't it the same if ultimately the sole discretion is on whoever's making that decision and not necessarily based on any
Well, I
system?
go back to what I said about you have set out a numerical rating, if you would, by having the two pools, with one being deemed more important with the 8 factors than the second pool of 8 factors. So you've already put 2 tiers together. Now, if you want to go within the primary tier and say you got to meet 5 of these, we really had a long talk about that a couple times now with you all, and I think we've constantly reiterated you need to have flexibility and not be boxed in by having something meet certain amount of numbers. If we just gave a list of 16 and didn't say to the public, you know, these are over here are deemed more important than these over there, you're right, it would be a disservice. But we have said these over here are deemed more important than these over here.
So if I wanted to say that, then why would number 5 on the secondary list, significant public amenities beyond minimum state or local requirements such as beach access, park, public art, pedestrian lighting, etc., in accordance with the plan, be moved to become a primary factor? In other words, it would seem to me that should be a primary factor, not a secondary factor.
That's fine if you want to do that.
Make the argument why it would be secondary and not primary.
Well, the reason the primary 8 are in that category was because they are things that if the developer does it, the city doesn't have to do something to cause redevelopment. That was really the chief motivation. For example, the developer went out and acquired all the property. You guys didn't have to use eminent domain to make it happen. The developer is doing investment with private money to spur reinvestment by others in the area. The property was not generating tax revenues before, now is. It's things that have the greatest impact and the least amount of involvement by the city that ended up in the primary pool. The one you cited, which is significant public amenities beyond the minimum state or local requirements, such as beach access, parks, public art, pedestrian lighting, etc., that's important. All these are important.
Well, I mean,
It's just a matter of which group should it go into.
Doesn't the law actually say that that is a priority? That, in other words, you should have a lot of public amenities? And if we look at what the city has done in the past, specifically Pier Village, and when you look at Pier Village 3, I mean, the primary consideration that we've been thinking about have been those public amenities.
Yeah,
I mean, somebody else jump in. if you-
Well, I'm just
No,
listening
that's-
to you. I think
that's
you have
fine.
some good points. My concern is we have a limited amount of time tonight, and if there's more revising that needs to be done, that's fine. But maybe we should just move it, we'll hold the ordinance until our questions are satisfied. I think there's too many questions that are unsatisfied tonight, and we really,
Your call, sure.
yeah. Do you have anything
No,
else?
not specifically, but I do think we should hold it.
Jeremy, I just asked, Jimmy, you had mentioned you were going to, if I'm not mistaken, you were going to look into something or take a look at that and
Yes.
see if you had any.
Yes, I did do some significant research on the issue, and I concur that the language that has been drafted here, after review, creates the least amount of potential liability to the city and the greatest amount of defenses that are available in the event that somebody were to challenge the fact that they were denied a tax abatement while someone else was. The reasoning that we got to was the 8 that were in the primary section should not be weighted is your projects, this covers 6 different redevelopment zones. So some of these don't involve beach access. Some of them are inland. Some of them have already been totally acquired. So different standards and different things will be important in your minds as the governing body making the decision as to a tax abatement. For example, Pier Village 3 is a heck of a lot different than Long Range Partners or the development of Lower Broadway or the Casertano project or the ones on 2nd Avenue. And there's a big difference between the Ergo properties and the projects that are going up in Beachfront South.
Yeah, this does make that distinction there, right?
These give you the ability to work within what you're presented by each individual developer, so that you don't say, number 1 is rated 10 points, number 2 is rated 15 points, number 3 is rated 20 points, so that you have a rating system, because certain ones wouldn't apply. That puts you in more trouble than if you just are able to do it fact specifically with the total control. The state statute does not require you to set up even these criteria. They give you just a blanket ability to grant without any
But they don't
standards.
turn around and say a multiple amount of these factors need to be achieved.
They
To
don't.
be
You're
qualified.
doing more than the state
Why?
statute requires.
Why that type of communication to the developer isn't, so that I'm not concerned over the person. And that, let me point out, I've spoken to the mayor about it and a few of the council members. I'm voting no.
Okay.
All right, because I've spoken with Beckelman, with you, and I've never heard from either of you in a phone call or you said you were gonna get back with me, or get back to us. No one contacted me back. I'm very upset over this. My question was, one person, a person, only does one of these factors, one of these things listed, and is expected to get a tax abatement, does the paper file it to us, and then we turn around and say, no, you're not getting it because you only did one. Where on this document is directing them that they need to do multiple tasks to be considered? That was, for the 4th time, that was my concern.
I think we'll hold this
Okay,
ordinance.
it's constructive. Well,
You can hold it. My vote is no.
Okay, we'll hold it and have more further discussion on it.
Well, maybe it would be a good idea if everyone has questions to get them to the people involved, rather than,
I'll pull the videos.
okay.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Excuse me, no, today.
Next on our agenda, we are going to have Kate Heidelman. And she will be making a presentation for the 3rd phase of work on Ross Island Hut regarding the roof. Thank you, Faith.
Okay, I'm here to ask the city to fund half of the cost of doing Phase 3 for the Monmouth County Historic Preservation Grant. We're going to be doing the east side of the hut. We did the north side this year. Phase 1, we took all the trees out. Phase 2, we did the north side, and it looks really nice. We were on the historic tour of Long Branch, and a lot of people were interested. We got a few volunteers to come join us on the garden on Eleanor Avenue. It's really looking beautiful. If you've come by and see it, it's really nice. So this year, the grant is for $7,500, and we're asking the city to match $3,750.
When you say this year, you mean calendar year 2016 or part of the 2007?
The grant is 2016-2017. So the work will be done by April or May.
Okay.
I like the idea. I think it's nice to restore, very impressive, the restoring of it. How do we get to go see it, though? That's my question.
If you come on, we have a platform that the mason built to take his machines over there. And so on November 5th, we're going to have our final cleanup of the fall. And we're going to put a tarp over the stone hut to protect it from the winter freezing and thawing, because it's sort of in delicate shape right now. So you're welcome to come over, and we have life preservers, and you can go on the raft and go over. There's also, if you look at our website, a man went over there in his kayak, and he took some great video of it. It's on Beth Woolley's Facebook page and Historic Long Branch and our Well Pembroke watershed. If you want to see the inside, he did a great job. You can see the flowers that they built and the doorways.
That'll be another project. Setting up a. There was, I think I saw an old picture. There was a bridge.
There was a bridge
going from the estate over to the.
Over to Red Oaks Drive.
Yeah.
And one of his family members, P. Sanford Ross's family members, got in touch with me the other day and sent me some pictures of the bridge, and I always thought that it was brick, but it looks like it's wood.
The
like
bridge.
the railings are wood, and the front of the photo album says Takana Farm. So P. Sanford Ross had a farm. It said 1905 Takana Farm. So we were wondering, well, where did the Takanassee get added on to that, or was that there first? So it's a mystery of how Takanassee got its name. There were no Indian tribes Takanassee around here. There was a Takanassee hotel, but so
No place.
it's one of the mysteries.
One of the mysteries of Long Branch.
Can I get a consensus here of agreeing to or not to Faith applying here for this grant, and that we would consider matching? Yes.
I
And we'll put
agree.
it in the budget? Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Don't forget November 5th. You can wave to us from the shore if you don't want to come on the raft.
Thank you.
Life preservers, you said?
Yes.
Okay, next on our agenda is a review of the regular meeting agenda. Do we have any questions regarding that?
No.
Everybody's good with that regular meeting agenda? Just want to go over my own questions for a minute. Okay, very good. I need a motion to close.
You didn't do the reminder of the meeting?
Oh, thank you very much. I'd like to remind everyone that the next council meeting will be on Thursday night. November 8th is Election Day. Please remember to vote. That's our privilege here. People have fought and died for that very privilege. Also, I'd like to also remind everyone that in a couple of weekends, we're going to be turning our clocks back, and that's a good time to replace your 9-volt battery and your smoke detector. So just a little reminder there. And thank you. Now I need a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I need a motion to adopt a resolution to go into executive session for the following items: personnel matters, police department, contract negotiation, SAM TD, Pier Village 3, Long Branch Partners, and redevelopment update. Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Billings?
Yes.
Mr. Palone?
Yes.
Mr. Siriani?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Mrs. Bastelli?
Yes.